Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, this is absolutely terrible. What's going on, heroes? I got to play the Diablo 4 beta, and I kind of liked it. I just wanted to give my thoughts out and kind of do a mini review of sorts and give you guys the highlights, and I can't wait for the game to actually come out. I didn't get to max level. I didn't get to explore all the things because I did have to go to work while the beta was open, but I got most of what I needed to get out of it. Now, I'm going to keep it real with you guys. I've only really played Diablo 3, and the biggest takeback I got was just how much darker this game is and how much more heavy the atmosphere feels in just how the story is being told. Given that this has a lot of in-game character cutscenes, which is really cool for an ARPG, I found it very disappointing in the customization with it all. I don't mind the simplicity, but of course, I've always been one to complain and argue about the hairstyles for curly hairs or black people in general, so that's just a nitpick in me, but no one really has that many options to choose from, so I guess it's fair. I did start off as a rogue, and now I did go back and try out the barbarian and the sorcerer, but in my experience changed throughout each playthrough, but I do have to say, I think I'm going to end up staying as the sorcerer in my next playthrough, or making the rogue a more range type character. I had some issues with some of the gameplay style that went in just being a melee character that I'd like to get more into detail about here in a little bit. The gameplay complements the atmosphere of the game, being heavy and all the hits feeling really solid. You can see here in my first playthrough, and very inexperienced the one at that, me kind of figuring things out and trying different things with the rogue, but it took me a while for my first fight with the first boss, and later on I ended up just kind of deleting him as I picked other characters. Blizzard said that there was going to be a lot less loot in this game. However, I spent the most of the time exploring with my rogue, and I actually found a good abundance of loot. Matter of fact, I spent most time just looking for loot with him, and there was a lot of drops. My only comparison is Diablo 3, and it felt very similar to Diablo 3 when it came to loot drop comparisons, or at least in the early days when Diablo first launched. When it comes to graphics, the only thing I really care about is if it serves a purpose in the media that it's in. So this game really takes a hit when it comes graphically to doing the cutscenes, but I think it works still because of how much detail they put into the maps and the areas, and really it makes me more immersed and pays more attention to the story. I can't tell you a single plot point from Diablo 3, but I do know that this one is very simplistic, and it's just good versus evil kind of story that I can appreciate. My time with my rogue was kind of very short-lived due to the fact that it wouldn't let me log back in, and I spent a lot of my time kind of just exploring every nook and cranny of the open world so I could get an idea of how to review it. And so I thought, well, let me just try different characters, see if I can bypass this queue or something like that. Thus, the barbarian was born, and I already knew I was going to be in love. Just looking at that monster in front of me made me feel powerful. I had a plan. It was to skip everything. I wasn't going to look around and see what's going on in the world like I did with my rogue. I'm going to go straight through it. Not going to care about gear. Not going to care about loot. Going to fight everything in my path and see, well, just how far can I take this? And I was pleasantly surprised. I had the starting gear, and I was able to take out the first boss way faster than I took out with my rogue. And made me think, like, maybe the warrior's just built different. Okay, and this is what I was kind of talking about before. Even though the NPCs walk at you and run at you like Call of Duty NPCs, there's still nothing satisfying about being surrounded by a ton of enemies that you can't really run out of, and you're kind of stuck there just spamming abilities till they're all dead. And to top it off, the bosses actively run away from you. A lot of boss fights are them kiting you and then spawning enemies to hold you off, which then turn into this chase game. And I know there's stuff that you can switch out and make different kits and have it go a different way, but it just wasn't that fulfilling for me when I was playing a melee character. And then I switched to the sorcerer. And this was kind of funny because I always like playing melee classes and MMOs, or I always like being a submachine gun, run up and just get up close kind of person. I've never been one to stay back and use range, but I found something really satisfying about playing a sorcerer here, using my abilities differently, always having something at hand, and absolutely deleting people in front of me. It just clicked a lot more in my head than playing the barbarian or rogue did. See this as an absolute strength for the game. Other people have been playing other classes and finding success with them and making their own builds, and I like that really there's something for everyone here, and that's probably the best part about it all. The game is pretty simple, and I did run out of time, so I didn't get to try out all the things that I wanted to try out. But looking into other stuff, the game is definitely designed for a general audience, and I think that's a good thing because there are other things out there that are way more complicated, but there are some things here that I think took a little bit too simplistic, like running into caves and dungeons. I really got to explore with my sorcerer, but it didn't feel like it. I think I've seen this same basement 50 million times, and not only that, a lot of the dungeons are copy and paste, making it feel like the already mundane routine of playing Diablo is feeling even more mundane, routine, and redundant. Take this and add on the sound design. There isn't really combat music. Everything is kind of subtle and the atmosphere always stays the same, so it's hard to immerse yourself in the situation that's always at hand. I was able to jump in and do some side quests, and they're really fun. There's always something new that's going on with each side quest, so I never really felt discouraged in picking up more. I looked forward to them. However, I did notice some repetitive mechanics. One prime example is a door, something that leads to the final encounter or boss of a dungeon or quest line, but it's always locked, and you have to explore the dungeon even more to find keys or a chest, a doohickey, a goober of sorts, to unlock the door and finish the dungeon. To me, this just felt like padding the runtime, and after being so impressed with the fact that I could just breeze on through the first kind of tutorial area of the game, I was a bit disappointed that further into the game they were kind of stalling your progression. I would like to see a different mechanic or a different iteration of the door, maybe just no door at all in some cases. A like and a subscribe go a long way for this channel, and I'd really appreciate it. You can also check out the other channels I got going on so you can keep up with the stream or just some of my other content that I'm trying to make. This really has been a snapshot into the game and kind of my views on it as well from a casual perspective. I really want to see where this goes, and I hope to give a more in-depth review when the full game comes out. But as of right now, there are a lot of good, more than bad, that goes on. I've heard a lot of people talk about how they're worried about the seasons that will come through this game, and I kind of agree. I'm a bit worried about how repetitive nature this will go and if the value of fun will still stay the same, prolonging that. But tell me what you thought. Did you get to play the beta? Are you excited for the next beta to come out? Are you going to get Diablo? Until next time, play nice. Never, played a beta till its death before. You know, played it up until the point where they kicked me out.